We'd like to thank each of you for coming out tonight to our annual Suffolk Police Department Awards ceremony. I would also like to take this opportunity to welcome our special guests. We have our city manager, Ms. Selena Cuffey-Glenn. We also have Vice Mayor Charles Brown. We have Councilman Roger Fawcett and Councilman Mike Duman. Thank you all for attending tonight. And of course, I would also be remiss if I did not welcome each of you who came tonight to honor our award recipients. Tonight we honor the men and women of the Suffolk Police Department who have set themselves apart in the service to the citizens of Suffolk. We also honor citizens who exemplify the notion of helping their neighbor in times of need. Tonight you will hear examples of selflessness, service, and bravery in the face of danger. You will hear examples of officers serving the city and our citizens with honor and commitment in the face of adversity. Please rise for the invocation and presentation of colors from the Suffolk Police Department Honor Guard and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Lord, thank you for providing us the opportunity to honor these officers and citizens here tonight, for allowing us the chance to recognize their accomplishments and show them how much they are appreciated in the work that they do. Bless these officers as they continue their journey in this noble and honorable profession that they selflessly partake in. Guide them in their path and make them fruitful in their ways. Cause them to be a light of righteousness for other officers to follow. Give them wise counsel in their times of need, and bless them with your protection for both them and their families. And Lord, bless the food that we're about to enjoy and place your hand of grace upon the rest of the evening. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and you may be seated. Now at this time, I welcome each of you to enjoy the meal that's been prepared for you. I would like to start, please, with our dignitaries, if we could have our council members, and then follow that by the city manager and her table, and then everybody else will follow. Thank you very much. As we continue on with the program, I would like to recognize Councilman Charles Parr, who arrived today, and we appreciate him being here tonight with us. Now, if I would, please, like to welcome our dear and wonderful mayor, Linda Johnson, with some special remarks.
I know, that's right. I don't do tall steps, I'm short. So, good evening. It's a beautiful evening, and I just want to welcome everyone here for a very, very special event. On behalf of the members of the Suffolk City Council, and I'm joined here, Councilman Parr, Councilman Duman, Councilman Fawcett are here with me, and others are on their way, are in their hearts, they're with you. This is a really important event. We do it every year, and it makes it no less special. As the mayor, I get to do a lot of things, but this is one of my favorite things because it points out just how special each and every one of you are, but even on top of that, we're going to recognize some very, very special people this evening. So it's my honor to be here with you and to be the first to congratulate this year's honorees who've done exceptional work for the Suffolk Police Department, and for our residents who are being recognized for their contributions, because each one of you is a true representation of just what makes this city great. And I'm sure you'll agree with me, I've lived here for 50 years now, and Suffolk is a great place to live. This evening we honor the Police Officers of the Quarter, the Police Officer of the Year, the Emergency Communications Operator of the Year, and the Supervisor of the Year. It is also an opportunity to acknowledge the individuals who received departmental commendations and noteworthy performance awards. Additionally, there will be presentations of the Distinguished Awards for Community Service, Life-Saving, and the Medal of Valor. We also express our appreciation to residents who have assisted the police department, because we all know that it takes everyone together to do the things that are done every day in this city to make us safe. And our police officers cannot do their job without our help. We have to let them know so that they can do each and everything that they do to make us a safer place to live. I know you've heard me say it many times, and I know many of you sometimes say it's just not enough, and it really isn't enough. But we can't thank you enough. That is such an important part, because I think each and every day as we go about our lives, all of us think about what we're doing. We just think about that our days are going well, or maybe not so well, but everything's okay in our lives. The truth of the matter is we couldn't feel that way. We couldn't feel that secure without all of you doing what you do each and every day. So there's so much appreciation. I just can't tell you how much we do appreciate what you do. We are so fortunate to have public servants. You chose a career that's a difficult career. And it's difficult not only for you, but many times for your family. And that's why it's so nice to have your family join you when you get these awards and show just how much it is a part of who we all are. We're blessed to have residents who are willing to work in cooperation with the department and to have these partnerships that we have throughout our city. And that's what's created the city that I get to say each and every day is a place that we are so proud to have people live, work, play, and live their entire lives in. On a personal level, I've gotten to meet many members of the Suffolk Police Department, and you truly are the best ambassadors that we could possibly have. You reach out into areas that some people never go. You're always there, and sometimes you're there at the times that are not the easiest times for people. It's a difficult moment in a person's life, and you're there, and you are the face of Suffolk, and you are the face of the Suffolk Police Department. And each and every time you do that, you make us so very proud. So I'm just happy to be here this evening. I thank you from the bottom of our hearts and souls of all of the residents for what you do. And as we honor these special people this evening, again, we say thank you each and every day, and we will work together to do everything we can to make your lives better as you keep us safe each and every day. Thank you so much.
Now, if you would please, welcome our city manager, Ms. Selena Cuffey-Glenn.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and it certainly is a pleasure to be here. Certainly Mayor Johnson, Vice Mayor, and other members of City Council. It's great to be in the place and really talk about some amazing people. One of the things that I truly do understand is how important you are. You are that lifeline of defense when it comes to the public that we serve each and every day. Certainly, whether it's a telephone call or an action, you make a difference in the lives of our citizens, visitors, and those who are current residents of our community and those who will come in the future. So once again, congratulations. Tonight is really all about you. And with that said, congratulations, and we really do look forward to a great program. Thank you.
Now, if you will, please welcome Chief Thomas Bennett, who will now present our honorees with their respective rewards.
Sergeant Sandy Springle, Emergency Communication Operator Aaron Hughes, Emergency Communication Operator Brandy Curl, Emergency Communication Operator Julie Spicer Egger, Emergency Communication Operator Katie Gray, and Emergency Communication Operator Gloria Harker. She's not on this list. On June 4, 2013, construction crews were working in the area of police headquarters and struck a major gas line near the building. Fire and police personnel were dispatched to the area, and it was immediately determined that all buildings in the area, police headquarters and the municipal building, and the communication center would need to be evacuated. Personnel of the communication center quickly went to work in activating the backup communication center. ECO Duncan and ECO Harper and ECO Gray remained at the dispatch center while the others proceeded to the northern end precinct to set up the backup center. Additional dispatchers were brought in to assist with manpower issues. Within a half hour of being notified to evacuate, the emergency backup center was up and running, receiving 911 calls and dispatching radio traffic to officer, police, and fire personnel. The main communication center was able to be fully evacuated. This incident demonstrates the effort that these individuals give each and every time they're called to test within the Suffolk Police Department. This is the first time that the communication center had to be fully evacuated and their training was put to the test. Each of these individuals work as a team to enjoy no interruption of the emergency service to the citizens of the city of Suffolk. Each are receiving a departmental commendation. Investigator Jake Lyons. On July 12, 2013, a narcotic search warrant was executed as a result of an ongoing investigation conducted by Investigator Lyons. During the search of the location, 533.5 grams of cocaine, 47.7 grams of crack cocaine, and 28.3 grams of heroin were seized. These amounts are collectively the largest amounts of narcotics yielded from a single investigation. Investigator Lyons is being awarded a departmental commendation. Officer Nicholas Thompson, receiving 2 awards, and his canine partner, which I'll let him tell us the name. Ryo. I can never get that right. So on August 7, 2013, Officer Thompson approached the stationary vehicle for a loud music violation. During his approach, Officer Thompson observed a male exit the driver's seat, grab his waistband, and begin running from the vehicle toward the rear of the apartment complex. Officer Thompson observed the male throw the alcohol bottle into the street and continually put his hands down into his waistband. During the foot pursuit, the suspect and the officer fell to the ground as a result of slipping on wet wood. When the suspect fell, Officer Thompson observed the suspect draw a black-and-color handgun from his waistband and attempt to throw it over a fence. The suspect got up and continued to flee, at which time Officer Thompson caught up with and detained the suspect. After securing the suspect, Officer Thompson recovered a loaded .40 caliber pistol that the suspect had thrown. And then on August 12, 2013, while investigating the theft of numerous weapons from a B&E of Southern Gun Works, Officer Thompson and his canine partner were dispatched to the scene and began conducting an article search around the business. Canine led Officer Thompson around the back of the building and subsequently located a set of bolt cutters and stolen weapons. Continuation of the search by Officer Thompson and his canine partner resulted in the recovery of a shirt and additional stolen firearms. Their continued search of the area revealed additional articles of clothing and additional stolen weapons several hundred yards from the location of the crime. The actions of Officer Thompson and his canine partner resulted in the recovery of several weapons which could have been used in future violent crimes. For these incidences, the officer and his partner receiving departmental commendations. Detective Alex Johnson. On September 21, 2013, during the course of several B&E investigations, Detective Johnson conducted an interrogation of a juvenile suspect. Detective Johnson was able to obtain a confession from the suspect and further obtained additional information as to the identity of the accomplices. The suspect advised Detective Johnson how they broke into the residences and detailed the various electronic properties, weapons, ammunitions, and monies which were stolen from within the residences. Suspects ultimately were charged with 5 counts of residential B&E, 4 counts of grand larceny, 4 counts of larceny with the intent to sell, and 1 count of petty larceny. As a result of his investigation and interrogation, Detective Johnson was able to solve and close 5 residential burglary investigations. Detective Johnson is being awarded a departmental commendation. Officer Michael Uriah. On September 24, 2013, Officer Uriah was assisting in a strong-arm robbery investigation. Initial responding officers, having a generalized description of the suspects, had conducted searches of several outbuildings in the vicinity of the offenses and were unable to locate the suspects. After being briefed, Officer Uriah decided to conduct secondary searches of the same buildings. During a search, he located the suspect hiding within a small shed. Upon detaining the suspect, Officer Uriah conducted a pat-down of the suspect and recovered 3 of the stolen items on the suspect's person. Officer Uriah conducted a more detailed search of the immediate area the suspect was hiding and subsequently recovered the remaining stolen items. Officer Uriah is receiving a departmental commendation. Communications Operator Supervisor Dale Shannon and Communications Operator Aaron Hughes. On December 14, 2013, at approximately 3 p.m., the Emergency Communications Center lost power. When this happened, the center lost radio communications, the computer-assisted dispatching program, and all the telephone lines. Acting Supervisor Aaron Hughes immediately called Sergeant Springle and notified her of the situation. ECO Hughes remained calm and explained the situation and was given instructions on how to move forward. She then began the process of establishing a link between the citizens and the 911 center. She activated spare portable radios for backup and the backup cell phones. Because of her quick actions, the 911 calls were transferred to the cell phone in a matter of seconds. She then telephoned off-duty emergency communication operators to proceed to the designated backup center at Precinct 2. On-duty communications operators Gloria Harper, Jody Holloman, and all the rest of the ladies that worked back there answered the call and proceeded to the second precinct. Ms. Hughes and Harper were driven by a police officer at Sector 2 to help the sergeant set up the center. Ms. Gale was on duty at the movies but came in to assist in setting up. Emergency Communications Supervisor Dale Shannon was shopping with her family when she was contacted about the situation. She immediately left her family and responded to the center. Remember, this is Christmas time. Somebody didn't get gifts. During this entire period, the personnel worked calmly and professionally during the situation, which no one had encountered before. However, their training and dedication were exemplified by their outstanding performance. For these reasons, Emergency Communications Operator Supervisor Dale Shannon and Emergency Communication Operator Aaron Hughes are receiving a departmental commendation. Officer Ashley Allen. On December 18, 2013, in the evening hours, a 15-year-old female called from a residence in northern Suffolk to report that she was alone and some unknown subjects were beating on the front door. The female was hysterical and advised that there was a small black car in front of her house and that she had never seen it there before. At the same time, a neighbor was witnessing this event and called the police to report that approximately 6 subjects were outside the vehicle banging on the door. The witness confirmed that it was a black car and it was about to leave with the subjects in it. Officer Allen responded to the area and was flagged down by the citizen who saw 6 or 7 males kick in the door of the 15-year-old, go inside, and return to their vehicle and flee. He gave a better description of the vehicle and a direction of travel. A short distance away, Officer Allen spotted the vehicle in the front yard of a residence. She stopped behind the vehicle, notifying the dispatcher of her location and license plate number of the car. The suspect vehicle quickly accelerated in an attempt to elude the police. By this time, Sergeant Key was behind Officer Allen, and they both pursued the vehicle with emergency lights and siren activated. The The suspect vehicle went into the Hampton Roads Parkway where the driver lost control and struck some bushes and a light pole, a fire hydrant, and came to rest against the utility pole. All the occupants fled on foot toward College Drive. Sergeant Key apprehended one of the subjects, and Officer Allen apprehended the other subject with the assistance of Sergeant Sparks. Both were transported to headquarters where they were charged with breaking and entering and conspiracy and possession of stolen property. For her actions, Officer Allen is receiving a departmental commendation. Miss Elizabeth Brooks Salmon. On January 25, 2013, in the early evening, while driving in the 800 block of West Constance Road, Miss Elizabeth Salmon observed what she thought was a house on fire in the area of Butte Street. Her husband, Officer James Salmon, had called dispatch to advise them of the fire. Upon arrival at the house fire, Miss Salmon found a man semi-consciously lying on the ground next to the burning house. She helped him move a safe distance from the fire and waited with him until medical assistance arrived. During this time she waited with him, she asked him questions of who might still be in the house, and also found that the man had jumped from the second-story window to escape the fire and injured himself during the fall. Due to Miss Salmon's actions, the injured man was pulled safely away from the burning house. Miss Salmon is being awarded the Department's Citizen Award. Mr. Joshua West, Mrs. Catherine West, and Mr. William Brooks. On February 11, 2014, during a very windy and cold 20-degree night, Joshua West heard a loud crash from outside the rear of his residence. Upon looking out the window, he observed a vehicle within the retention pond. He immediately told his wife, Catherine, to call 911, and then he went out of the residence. As he proceeded to the pond, Joshua was yelling to anyone who may be inside the vehicle. He heard a voice and observed a male standing in neck-deep water. Joshua asked if anyone else was in the vehicle, at which time the male told him that his wife and kids were with him, but he did not know where they were. Joshua then observed a small child floating in the water, and immediately he entered the pond. As he was retrieving the 3-year-old male child, he observed another child floating 15 feet to his left. While holding the male child out of the water, Joshua went to and retrieved the 2-year-old female child. He then immediately proceeded to the water's edge with both children. Upon exiting the water, Joshua laid both children on the ground and began to assess their condition. He was able to determine the male child was breathing, but the female child was not. Catherine, who had been yelling for help from any of the neighbors, was able to alert Mr. William Brooks. Catherine and William ran to the west backyard and arrived at the location where Joshua had laid the children. William noticed that the female child was not breathing, and Joshua had initiated CPR on her. Catherine immediately began to care for the male child as William continued about 4 CPR revolutions on the female child, which resulted in her beginning to breathe on her own again. William and Catherine then took the 2 children into the West residence and warned them until the arrival of rescue squad personnel. Joshua had gone back into the water to assist the father out. When Joshua got close to him, he asked where the mother was, to which the father indicated that he did not know. Joshua got to the vehicle and checked the interior for the mother. Unable to locate her, he assisted the father back to the shoreline, got him out, and assessed his injuries. These 3 individuals are receiving our Department Citizen Award tonight. Officer James Salmon. On January 6, 2013, officers responded to the 100 block of Military Road at the park in reference to a subject threatening suicide. Officers searched the area but were unable to locate the subject. Officers Upton and Salmon then walked into the ravine behind the park, where they located the subject at the bottom of the ravine, unresponsive but breathing. Rescue extracted the subject from the ravine and transported him to Obacy Hospital. Investigation revealed that the subject had ingested a large amount of insulin in an effort to end his life. While walking atop the ravine, he had fallen into the ravine and was unable to get out. A job well done by the officers who conducted a thorough search of the ravine and found the subject, who was in need of medical attention, and they were able to save his life. Officer Salmon is being awarded the department's life-saving award tonight. Officer Armando Beal. On February 22nd, 2013, in the morning hours, Officer Beal was on routine patrol in the Lakeside area where she observed smoke and fire coming from a residence on Lee Street. She notified communications and then took immediate action by knocking on the front door to alert the residents. She then entered the residence and began to evacuate a total of 6 sleeping residents. Officer Hearn arrived on scene and assisted her with the evacuation. 3 of the 6 residents inside the house were very small children. The swift actions of both officers saved the lives of the 6 residents. Officer Beal is being awarded the department's life-saving award. Sergeant Robert Farman. During the early evening hours of 7 June 2013, officers were dispatched to a structure fire on Constance Road in the city of Suffolk. Once on scene, officers were alerted to an elderly male who was unable to walk and trapped in an upstairs apartment. Officers made their way to the 3rd floor apartment where a wheelchair-bound individual who was unable to walk on his own was located. Officer Sukowski, with the assistance of Sergeant Farman, carried the male individual down 3 flights of stairs and was able to get the individual out of the building and out of harm's way. If it were not for these actions, this incident could have had catastrophic results. Sergeant Farman is being awarded the department's life-saving award. I know. We'll catch him. Officer Danny Jordan and Officer Raul Hudson. On July 16, 2013, officers were dispatched to a residence where a female was found to be unconscious, unresponsive, no pulse. Her lips were blue in color, she was not breathing, and believed to be in cardiac arrest from a seizure. Immediately following his assessment of the patient, Officer Jordan applied the AED to her and administered a shock. Officer Hudson then began administering CPR to her while waiting for the AED to reanalyze their status. As rescue personnel arrived on scene, a second shock was administered to the female. Based upon the actions of these 2 officers, rescue personnel were able to quickly prepare and transport the victim to a medical facility. Both officers are being awarded the department's life-saving award. Officer Mark Juilliard. Officer Juilliard was the first responder to a scene of a fire on Lee Street on Sunday, December 15, 2013, during the late morning hours. His actions during that incident saved the life of a woman who was trapped on the 2nd floor of the building. Officer Juilliard was called to respond to the structure fire and observed smoke pouring out of the 2nd floor living area. He forced entry into the building and went to the 2nd floor to find an elderly woman in the hallway. The woman was disoriented and said that she could not get out. Officer Juilliard led her out of the building, but she was quite distraught about her cat. Officer Juilliard then risked his own safety by entering the smoke-filled building a second time to see if he could find the woman's missing cat. Officer Juilliard was unable to locate the cat as the smoke and fire were overwhelming and he could not remain inside. We believe that Officer Juilliard's prompt response and his heroic efforts saved the life of the woman who was unable to find her way out of the building. Officer Juilliard is being awarded the department's life-saving award. Officer Shane Sukowoski. We've heard a little bit about this with Sergeant Farman, who wanted to make sure that we didn't forget about Officer Sukowoski, but we had a little bit more for him, Sergeant. But during the evening hours of June 7th, Officer Sukowoski assisted Sergeant Farman in evacuating the building, if you will. Officer Sukowoski was actually there first, and Sergeant Farman assisted him. Based upon everything that happened through that event, Officer Sukowoski is being awarded the department's Life-Saving Award, but he was also selected to be the Police Officer of the Second Quarter for 2013. You can go in front of me. Detective Alex Johnson. During the third quarter of 2013, Detective Johnson was assigned to the burglary unit working out of Sector 1. He continually demonstrated his willingness to assist the other detectives in the Bureau while still carrying a heavy caseload. Detective Johnson also consistently recanvassed his areas of the burglaries where they had occurred, which resulted in him in obtaining valuable additional information to fully investigate his cases. During the third quarter, Detective Johnson was assigned 53 burglary reports. 8 were closed by arrest, 10 closed by exception, prosecution declined, and 2 were unfounded, making his overall clearance rate in excess of 40%, which for a detective is high on burglaries. Detective Johnson has been awarded the Officer of the Quarter for the third quarter. Officer Heather Linville. Suffolk Police Department has been working for 4 years to attain a national accreditation through the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. This process has been a long road that required many steps. When Sergeant Garvin was promoted to sergeant, the task was handed over to Officer Heather Linville in July 2012. Officer Linville started gathering proofs of compliance for the 160 standards that the department must meet. During the past year, Officer Linville worked many long hours that went well beyond her normal workday. She often continued to work even when told to call it a day. Her attention to detail is the driving force to the department's success. In the latter part of 2013, a mock assessment was held, and Officer Linville ensured that the assessors had a difficult time finding any areas that needed for improvement. The actual assessment occurred over a 3-day period in early December. Officer Linville planned and coordinated the event and executed it flawlessly. In March of 2014, members of the department went to Anaheim, California, where they accepted official accreditation status for our Suffolk Police Department. This will confirm that the Suffolk Police Department meets the law enforcement professional standards set by a national organization. It would be hard to imagine the department would have met the goal without the hard work and dedication of Officer Linville. For her dedication on this very important venture, she is being recognized at the department's with a departmental commendation, the Officer of the Fourth Quarter, and the Suffolk Police Department Officer of the Year for 2013. Emergency Communications Operator Katie Gray. Katie Gray began her employment with the Suffolk Police Department on August 16, 2010. Her receipt of this award is not for a single call, but moreover her overall work and dedication to the Suffolk Emergency Communications Center. She's expressed an interest in becoming a certified training operator and completed the training in May of 2013. Shortly after completion of training, she took on her first trainee and has showed a willingness to work with other training operators to help them train their trainees. ECO Gray continually works with the dispatchers and call takers to share her knowledge and experience. She consistently maintains a calm demeanor while taking 911 calls, no matter the situation on the other end of the phone. the department monthly solicited citizens' feedbacks through the use of customer surveys. All of those returned surveys with regards to Ms. Gray has indicated that she meets or exceeds expectations. In 2013, ECO Gray answered over 2,000 911 calls, which is significant within the city of Suffolk. ECO Gray is also continuing to work on completing her bachelor's degree in criminal justice while working full-time with the Suffolk Police Department. Emergency Communications Operator Katie Gray is the Suffolk Police Department Dispatcher of the Year for 2013. Sergeant Jesse Epperson. Sergeant Jesse Epperson is a repeat offender. He stood before us last year as the Supervisor of the Year for 2012. For 2013, he continues to set the standards high. He became in charge of the Neighborhood Enforcement Team, South Unit. During that time, his unit made numerous drug and gang participation arrests. Sergeant Epperson espouses the tenet of community policing by being a member of the Blight Committee, which takes steps to remove condemned property. Sergeant Epperson has the ancillary function of assistant team leader to the Suffolk Police Dive Team. Sergeant Epperson is also involved in the planning and coordination of the Suffolk Law Enforcement Ball, which raises monies for local charities. He is well respected by his peers and is seen as a problem solver by his supervisors. For these reasons, Sergeant Jesse Epperson is recognized as the 2013 Suffolk Police Supervisor of the Year. Officer Nick Thompson. Officer James Baber. Sergeant Timothy Smith. Sergeant Lance Callis. And Sergeant Robert Farman. Now, I'm going to tell you a long story that really isn't going to be that long because it's hot in here, but for these gentlemen standing before you, it was very, very, very long. And for many, many other officers who were out there with them that night that aren't here with us tonight. But on August 25th, 2013, at about 9:30 p.m., a male juvenile stole a handgun and several boxes of ammunition from a residence on North Main Street. The suspect fled the residence and traveled on foot to the Saratoga area of the city, firing off several rounds during his travels. Numerous calls from citizens were received into the communication center, and officers were dispatched to the area where the suspect was last seen. Approaching officers could hear a steady volley of gunfire coming from the area of the railroad tracks. As officers approached the tracks, the suspect began firing upon them, causing the officers to seek covers. The officers were not able to see the suspect, but knew that they were going into an active shooter situation. Sergeant Farman immediately directed the establishment of a perimeter and opened a command post. As additional personnel arrived on scene, two-person teams were sent out in search of the gunman. Based upon the continuing gunfire, officers knew the suspects were traveling in a westerly direction along the railroad tracks. At one point during the incident, the suspect approached a residence on Holland Road, which was inhabited by two females. The suspect repeatedly rang the doorbell and banged on the door in an attempt to have the women let him into the residence. The suspect then fired 9 shots into the residence, while one of the women were on the phone with the dispatchers. Sergeant Callis arrived at the residence just after the shots had been fired, still able to smell the gunpowder. Not knowing where the suspect was, Sergeant Callis approached the residence and was able to quickly assist in the evacuation of the 2 women from the residence. Sergeant Callis then observed footprints in the wet grass, which allowed a canine track of the gunman to be conducted. The search led to Titan Concrete, which is a property located on Holland Road, between Holland Road and Route 58 bypass. As the officers and the canine began searching the property, they could hear the suspect yelling and howling at them. The suspect was eventually observed atop an approximately 60-foot tower located in the center of the property. As Lieutenant Smith and other officers were approaching the tower location, the gunman fired at Lieutenant Smith and Sergeant Callis. Lieutenant Smith returned fire and immediately, with the assistance of Sergeant Callis, began verbal negotiations with the gunman. After a brief negotiation, the suspect threw down the handgun, climbed down the tower, and was taken into custody. During this incident, there were no injuries to citizens, officers, or the suspect. This active shooter event evolved over a 5-hour period of time and stretched across 7 miles within the city of Suffolk. These 2 officers are receiving the departmental commendation, and Lieutenant Smith, Sergeant Callis, and Sergeant Farman are receiving the department's highest award, the Medal of Valor.
Chief Thomas Bennett will now give you his remarks.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight we've heard many stories of outstanding performance, many of bravery, many of courage. Day in and day out, all of you and our officers and other personnel that couldn't be here tonight work extremely hard to protect the citizens of our city and to protect ourselves. I don't want anybody to leave here tonight not thinking that you're not appreciated. We appreciate you more than you could ever know, and our citizens do too. Not a day goes by, and I really mean this, not a day goes by that I don't receive a call or a letter or email, and sometimes people even stop by and want to see me. And if I can't see them, I always try to make time for them, because most of the time they're coming to tell me what an outstanding job one of you has done. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. Sometimes just the smallest things we do for people make a big difference. And it's kind of like I tell our police recruits every time I meet with them when they first get out of the academy. A lot of the people we deal with day in and day out, it's going to be their one and only contact with law enforcement. So make it count. And we do. That's obvious from what we've seen here tonight. I'm very proud to be everybody's chief. And I thank each and every one of you for everything you do. Each of you. You do an outstanding job. And I'm going to close tonight by asking everyone to please join me one more time in congratulating our awardees.
Please rise for the benediction. Bow your heads. Lord, bless the ones who wear the badge, the ones who walk the beat. Protect and keep us safe while we're on the street. As we wait and as we watch, doing good for all, guide our minds and give us strength for each and every call. Ready to put our lives on the line, give us courage each day. Let us know you're always there in each and every way. Lord, bless the ones who wear the badge, protect them from harm, always keep them safe and in your loving arms. In your Son's name, amen. Thank you very much for coming tonight, and once again, thank you to all the honorees.